Hey, Marcus. Hey, Marcus, of those songs, what do you think should be first? I can't really do the first one, the cool tuning, the Ani DeFranco one. I can't do that in the middle because it's a different tuning and it's really annoying to switch it back and forth. Multiple. Does that be first? Miraz last, and maybe the crazy tuning first, and then just breathe too. That works for me. Cool, I'll get the hard one out of the way. I'm gonna unplug and go off and tune. Okay.
Like our content? It's funded by viewers like you. Please consider becoming a sustaining supporter of New Church Live today.
Good morning, folks. Great to have you joining me today at New Church Live. I'm Pastor Chuck Blair. Whether you're joining us in our studio audience or joining us from across the globe, maybe as far away as Ireland, like who knows? It is wonderful to have you here joining us today. And again, folks, with these services, a lot of people watch them archived. So if anything strikes your fancy or you want to make a comment, again, warmly invited to share some ideas throughout the service today or even a month, a year from now. Share with us your thoughts, and you can do that either on social media or by texting me 215-740-3662. So today what I want to start with is this basic idea that where are we going to sort of set our starting point in life? And we're very privileged to be part of a local college campus. We do a Friday morning live every week over there. And last week with that group, I said, yeah, just imagine like if joy was your starting point. And I think that's so much of the spiritual message, not holding joy like as something way out there and once all these things get settled, then I'll have joy. But instead saying like, oh, Jesus talks about fullness of joy, abundance of joy. Let's start there. And today is a service, and a series actually, where we're looking at what gets in the way of that. What are the roadblocks we put up that can keep us from that place? And how do we get rid of those so that we can bridge the divide? And obviously, folks, in this season, an election season, that idea of how do we bridge divides is really important. It matters deeply. So there are those services where it's like, yeah, we really want to enjoy this and relish in this particular perspective and sort of celebrate it. And there's other ones where it's sort of a roll up your sleeves kind of service. Today is a roll up your sleeves kind of service. A kind of let's get to work type of service in terms of what we can do, again, to move joy closer to our lives and closer to the perspective we take as we move out there into the world. Because what can get in the way, if I'm holding joy way out here, I can want the world to work a certain way. And what can get in the way again and again and again and again are grudges. And I imagine that all of you have them. I know I certainly do. And if you're not sure if you have one or not, I just ask you to think back to the last time you were in your car alone, no one there, no phone on, nothing, and you were arguing with someone. That's a grudge. And the challenge is that we rehearse them. We rehearse them sometimes for decades. We rehearse the little slings and arrows, as they would say. We rehearse them and we just repeat them in our heads over and over and over again. And how do we move beyond that? Because I think Mother Teresa's quote is so germane. It's so incredibly important. If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten we belong to each other. And I think so much of church, so much of and that I'm using church in its broadest sense here. I think a synagogue is the same way. I think a temple's the same way. What we're really all trying to do is just get back to this memory that, yes, we belong to each other. We actually belong to each other. Now, of course, that means that there are things that are challenging. It's not that belonging necessarily makes life easy. It's just trying to come from that perspective that we belong to each other. This is clear in terms of Christian New Church theology. What is the purpose of faith? Or its facts, think doctrine here, insights and teachings, if not to help us become what faith encourages us to be. The main lesson it imparts is charity. That is the ultimate aim of faith in all its actions. In other words, it's all about how do we serve? How can we be useful out there into the world? Without charity, what value does knowledge and doctrine hold? So without that heart of things, without that heart that really comes at life and says we all belong, grudges are going to get in the way, let's start from joy. Without that basic heart, we're going to lose the plot. And it's very easy to lose the plot of life. We're going to look at a story that talks about that. It's interesting how many times, in the life of Jesus and in the life of early Christianity, they really were trying to sort of promote this idea of the family of man, the family of humanity. That's why it talks about this good news that shall be to all people, the Christmas story, all nations, all people. It wasn't like just to one select group. No, this is good news for everybody. And if it's not for everybody, it's not good news. You just think about that. So that idea of coming at it from that perspective and just that idea of family, it's important to remember that with that idea of family, I think there's lots of ways to look at that. There's this real positive way to look at it, very positive way to look at it. Family can be where we have some of our richest, most fulfilling relationships. And notice the phrase I use there, can be. I've certainly seen it happen many times. And then family can also be the opposite. Family can also be really challenging. I mean, probably you have a family member, if not more than one, who knows the exact right buttons to push. And you two can go at it, you can have a strained relationship, and you can absolutely love each other at the same time. I think that's what Jesus was pointing us towards. That idea. That yes, and. That both and. Not the either or. So a question just to throw out there, we do a lot of this at New Church Live because we have such a large online audience, is we just throw a question out there to see if some people want to share a thought. The question we're going to start with today is, what do we get with family? And just think, what do you get in this mix of your own family? What are the different ingredients? What are the different parts of it, the good and the bad, that you see with family? And you can text that to me at 215-740-3662. And I wish you folks all the very best. I'm so glad you are here with us today as we start today's service. looking at bridging the divide. And so, friends, I want to welcome you. I want to welcome you to New Church Live.
Morning, everybody. This is a song by Ani DeFranco about family and working through rifts in a family and trauma. Growing up, it was just me and my mom against the world, and all my sympathies were with her when I was a little girl. But I've seen both my parents play out the hands that they were dealt, and as each year goes by, I know more about how my father must have felt. I just want you to understand that I know what all the fighting was for. Baby, I just want you to understand that I'm not angry anymore. No, I'm not angry anymore. She taught me how to wage a cold war with quiet charm, but I just want to walk through my life unarmed, and to accept and just get by like my father learned to do, but without all the acceptance and getting by that got my father through. I just want you to understand that I know what all the fighting was for. I just want you to understand that I'm not angry anymore. No, I'm not angry anymore. Oh. Night falls like people into love, and we generate our own light to compensate for the lack of light from above. And every time we fight, a cold wind blows our way. We can learn like the trees how to bend, how to sway and say, I think I understand what all this fighting is for. And baby, I just want you to understand that I'm not angry anymore. No, I'm not angry anymore. Oh, not angry anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. That's beautiful. All right, friends. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with this story here, and how do we sort of hold the both and of it all. And the story we're going to look at is this ancient story, and it was interesting this morning, reading a beautiful story this morning, and it was a great quote from a rabbi. Listen to this quote. "Once you engage in Jewish learning, it changes you," she said. "We are a wisdom tradition. We are an ancient people with these tools of survival and community." And we're going to look at one of those ancient stories today, and we're going to look at this ancient story as a way to look. I liked her phrase there about community and survival, about that this is a story about how do you form community and survival, knowing that there's all kinds of tensions and challenges and the grudges that get formed. And we're going to look at the story both in a literal level and as a beautiful metaphor for how we might be able to move forward in our lives and what the cautions might be. I think so much of religion, folks, a little background, is religion is based on a no and a yes. There is a sacred no. There is a sacred no. There are clear things that don't go that way. And we have to understand the sacred no's of life before we can really understand what the sacred yeses are and how to live more and more into that bigger yes. So join me on that journey. And what we're going to look at is we're going to look at a story thousands and thousands of years old. It goes back to the creation story, and it's the story of Cain and Abel. Now, Cain and Abel were the two sons of Adam and Eve. In Christian New Church theology, we see this as a beautiful poetic truth about the evolution of humanity, about things that happen in us, about how we grow as people. So let me go ahead and read it to you. Now, Abel, this one son, kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. So the two sons, they grow up. One ends up working with animals. One ends up working with crops. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil, some of the fruits of the ground as an offering to the Lord. But Abel brought fat portions from the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was angry and his face was downcast. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you. You must master it." Beautiful line there. You must master it. So let's just pull this story apart a little bit, because I think there's a lot here for us to take a look at in terms of things that have real impact on our lives. First off, Cain says, Cain brought forward some of the fruit of the ground as an offering to Jehovah. Notice the word some there. And then Abel. Abel brought forward some of the firstborn of his flock and of his flock and of their fat. And Jehovah looked on Abel and on his offering. And it begs this question, folks, what was the difference? Well, it's not that God doesn't punish Cain for what he brings. It's the idea of bringing the first fruits, bringing the most significant parts. And please, friends, what you never want to do, please don't ever do this. You never want to look at a story like this and go oh, which character am I? Because we're both. We have a Cain part, we have an Abel part. We have a part that really does want to bring the first things to the most important parts of life, really does want to make a difference, really does want to serve. And then we have a part of us that's a little more scarcity mentality. I'll give some over, give some to God. And think here of the riches of your heart, really. I'll give some to those bigger pictures, but I'm not giving it all. God's never asking, for us to give it all. He's asking us to give priority to things. He's asking us to hold first things recognizably first. I think, friends, when I look at this, one possible way to look at this is to think, again, what was the difference between Cain's offering and Abel's offering? I think one way to look at it sort of metaphorically is Cain, it's this idea of when you're talking crops, you're talking something very intellectual. What God is asking for is our heart, something very emotive, that deep idea of love. That's where God really wants us to get to, is where we're really offering love up to the world. Facts are great. They're terrific. They're amazing. But without love, they're not much. So that idea of here's the intellectual parts I have to offer the world, terrific. Terrific. And remember the firstborn part. Remember to offer these parts that are actually of your heart. How does that look to you? When I say that, what comes to mind about offering up your heart? Because I think if we go to extremes here, I think it can really come down to sort of a binary bit, one way to look at it. What was the difference? Well, here might be one way to see it. Peace of mind, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind, or all of my heart. Now, how many of us really want to interact with someone who's like, well, I'm going to give you a piece of my mind? I mean, talk about a conversation stopper right there. But that's, again, where grudges come from. Grudges come from this idea of oh yeah, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. I mean, I'm just driving in the car yesterday and I'm thinking of somebody and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I can't wait to give them a piece of my mind. That's nuts. And ready? I hope you do it too. I shouldn't say hope you do it too. I hope you don't do it, but my guess is that we all do. That's very different than a wholehearted approach of, yeah, what I want to do is I want to offer something wholehearted to the world. I want to bring my whole self. And I want to offer that out there. And friends, we know those people who do that because we've seen it. It's interesting with this story, God gives a clear warning here. And Jehovah said to Cain, why has anger kindled in you, and why is your face fallen? If you do well, will it not raise you up? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door. That's a really fascinating line. And going through putting this service together over the past few weeks, that idea of sin lies at the door is an interesting one. Let's take a look at what that might mean. So this idea that sin lies at the door. I think what God is saying, if we come at the world with anger and grudges, if we're always playing the comparison game, again, if anger is our primary emotion, again, imagine, and I do want to belabor this, imagine waking up every morning angry, filled with grudges, versus waking up with joy. Just think of that. That idea of sin like door, I think, again, if we come from that angry place, that place that is just filled with grudges, where everything is a grudge, everything is a grudge, everything is a grudge, and then, of course, we turn on our computer and find out all our grudges are true. All our grudges are not necessarily true. You know that. I know that. But we step into that, like, sin is very easy to pick up then. And think of it like a pile of stones. It's very easy to just pick up, here's this grudge. And when I was picking out stones this morning, I picked out well-worn stones because I think with a lot of our best grudges, the grudges we do exceptionally well, we've used them through life and we've kind of rubbed them down. So now they're nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. They don't even feel jagged in our hand. But friends, how would God see that? God would see this as like this spiky thing, this dangerous thing, this weapon. It's not the way he's asking us to start our days. And we have a whole pile of this stuff. Now, friends, does that mean, and this is always an important caveat, does that mean that there aren't people who have hurt us, who a grudge is legitimate in a certain sense? Absolutely. But justified resentment may be one of the biggest killers out there. It doesn't mean that there aren't resentments or challenges that are very real or hurts that actually have been perpetrated on us. I imagine all of us have legitimately been deeply hurt by someone else. Don't live there. Don't live there. Because it's too easy to pick up other grudges. It's too easy to pick up all kinds of things that aren't going to help you, aren't going to help your life or your community or your partnerships. They're just not going to help you in any of that. I think, friends, again, when we look at family, family can be such a big part of this. And these grudges, a lot of the time, it's interesting, they invite us into polarities that may not even be there. When I come at the world with a deep grudge, and all of a sudden I see something, I see someone's action, or I see a label of some sort, I instantly throw them into a big pile where, they believe this one thing, so that means it's all here. And all of my grudges, my pantheon of grudges, come along with me, and then I just kind of label this person with this grudge, this grudge, this grudge. But they just disagreed with me on one thing. They may agree with you on a million others. Please remember that when you look at social media. Social media wants you to click. It wants you to click on something. mean, that's the whole point. And I know even here at New Church Live, like, we always have to be careful about that, because if it's just about clicking, there's a certain way to do things where you get more clicks, a certain way to do it where you get less, and it's easy to confuse that you're doing a better job with more clicks and a worse job with less. That's not true. So you have to be careful. You have to sort of back up and start to see these things for what they are, and to remember that there's a lot of power in feeding other people's grudges. I want to say that again. There's a lot of power in feeding other people's grudges. And it's interesting, again with this story, is here's Cain, and God's saying, like, look, if you come at it with a lot of grudge and a lot of anger and a lot of upset, sin lies right there at the door. And that's literally what Cain does. Cain ends up, for those of you who know the story, he ends up killing his brother. He goes out and he kills his brother. All because of this grudge. And it wasn't even that Abel had done something to him. It just was a grudge. I mean, grudges just want to have grudges. Anger just wants to be angry. Being mad just wants to be mad. And again, friends, please don't like think that, oh, we're talking about this person over here. No, this is us. This is what we do. We have these parts. And how can we take these parts and start to do it differently? And I think part of that is the no matter whatness of love. Say it a lot, like, love is not just rainbows and unicorns. It's just not. True love is something that's much more robust, actually has edges to it, actually has growth embedded in it, not just warm, fuzzy feelings. And that idea of that love, and that God's saying, yeah, I need you to bring that firstborn part, again, that Abel part, I need you to bring that to the world. I think that is so important. And friends, we talk about that, and it's not just like Old Testament stuff where we see this, but New Testament stuff, we see it all the time. This is 1 Corinthians 13, a very famous, beautiful line. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. I mean, friends, look at what this is written by Paul. This is written about 80 years after Jesus had died, 70 or 80 years after Jesus had died. This line has so many interesting parts of it because here's Paul standing in a place, and if we could just leave this up for a second, here's Paul standing in a place, and here's Paul saying, like, look, if I get to a point where I have all spiritual power, in other words, all spiritual power where I have the gift of prophecy, in other words, I can tell you what's going to happen, and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge. So I absolutely know everything there is to know about spirituality, about how God works, about all the world. I know it all. And if I have faith that can move mountains. Now that's a reference going back where Jesus had said, look, if you have enough faith, you can tell this mountain to move and it will. And here's Paul saying, yeah, but you know what? You can have all that. You can have all that. And guess what? You'll have nothing if you don't have love. Zero. That's what it'll be. Think of that Cain. Think of Cain as being that knowledge part. That, yeah, can master it all, can know it all, can have all the facts, all the figures, all the insights, can have it all. But without that offering, without that other part, that sibling, as it were, that puts love first, none of it matters. None of it matters. Now, we live in a world, friends, of course, that celebrates kind of the knowing it all. And we just have to be careful with that. I mean, an old saying, an old question that I love, if you were going on an airplane trip this weekend, who would you rather sit beside? The most loving person in the world or the smartest person in the world? Probably the most loving. I would hope. I would hope. So friends, as we look at this, as we think through the way this might be able to work, remember that, what do I want to say here? I want to say, let's take this seriously. And I feel like people in church do, which is so good. It was interesting being out on a walk with someone. This was a couple of months ago, and they were talking about church, and they said, yeah, you know what gets said at church really matters. And again, I'm using it in its broadest sense. Synagogues are the same way. Temples are the same way. It really matters. Because we have to find our way out of this. There has to be authentic alternatives to grudges. There has to be authentic alternatives that say that this is just the way it is, and that somehow just piling on grudge after grudge after grudge, and you have your grudges and I have my grudges, and then we get together and argue to see who has more grudges, sort of a victim, who's the bigger victim competition. Friends, that's not a good way to live. Can we speak to something different? Can we live something different? And I don't say that lightly. I don't, sort of, sometimes churches can do kind of what's called turn or burn, which means either you got to turn away or you end up in hell. That's not a great way to look at life in that dramatic a fashion. But there is a clear warning here. The clear warning is, those grudges, they're going to make resentments just really easy to pick up. And all that goes along with that. And you look at where that led Cain. It led Cain to kill his brother. And we can do that in ways, not literal, I think, most of the time, thank goodness, but we can do that in metaphorical ways all the time. So let's think about, what does it look to do this differently? And as Emily comes out, let's think, what does it look like to really understand, to really live, that we do indeed belong to each other?
Two a.m. and she calls me 'cause I'm still awake. Can you help me unravel my latest mistake? I don't love him. Winter just wasn't my season. Yeah, we walk through the door so accusing, their eyes like they have any right at all to criticize. Hypocrites, you're all here for the very same reason. 'Cause you can't jump the track with like cars on a cable, and life's like an hourglass glued to the table. No one can find the rewind button, girl, so cradle your head in your hands and breathe, just breathe. Oh, breathe, just breathe. In May he turned 21 on the base of Fort Bliss. Just a day he sat down to the flask and his fist ain't been sober since maybe October of last year. Here in town you can tell he's been down for a while, but my God, it's so beautiful when the boy smiles, wanna hold him. Maybe I'll just sing about it. 'cause you can't jump the track. We're like cars on a cable, and life's like an hourglass glued to the table. No one can find the rewind button, boys, so cradle your head in your hand and breathe, just breathe. Oh, breathe, just breathe. There's a light at each end of this tunnel, you shout, 'cause you're just as far in as you'll ever be out. And those mistakes you made, you'll just make them again, if only try turning around. 2 a.m. and I'm still awake, writing a song. If I get it all down on paper, it's no longer inside of me, threatening the life it belongs to. And I feel like I'm naked in front of the crowd, 'cause these words are my diary screaming out loud. And I know that you'll use them however you want to, but you can't jump the track. We're like cars on a cable, and life's like an hourglass glued to the table. No one can find the rewind button now. Sing it if you understand. And breathe, just breathe. Oh, breathe, just breathe. Oh, breathe, just breathe. Oh, breathe, just breathe. Oh, breathe, just breathe.
Hey New Church Live, it's Angela. I want to warmly invite you to join us on October 27th. After church that Sunday, we're hosting what we're calling a tailgate party. Really, it's just an opportunity to connect and enjoy each other's company. We're trying to offer some community events a handful of times throughout the year, just to create opportunities for connection. And if you happen to live in the Philadelphia area, or you're passing through, or you want to, come into town that Sunday, we hope you will join us for church, and then stick around afterwards for some hoagies and some pretzels and, just some traditional tailgate food. We want to, like I said, offer more opportunities for community and connection, and we hope you will join us that Sunday. If you don't live in the Philadelphia area, but you want to support New Church Live, or you live in the Philadelphia area, one of the best ways you can support New Church Live is really free. You can share our content. If you like what you see, you saw a video or 10 minutes of calm, or you like this Sunday service, share it with a friend, post it on social media, let others know about New Church Live. That's a free way to support New Church Live that we hope you will participate in. And if you want to make a donation to New Church Live, again, the easiest way to do that is to text the word New Church Live, all one word, all lowercase, to 77977 and make a donation, or you can go to the donate tab on our website. We hope you will join us on October 27th. We hope you will share New Church Live content, and we hope you'll make a donation, or one or all of the three of those options. So thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you, Angela. Yeah, just a part of it, friends, we just had a board meeting this week, and it's just interesting watching online, because online there's so much that's happening out there into the world. And old dogs like me, we love the in-person stuff, which is wonderful to be able to, offer at the end of October, this tailgate. But we also want to serve the online audience, because that's by far the vast bulk of New Church Live. I mean, for our friends, did you know that probably by the end of today, we measure 24 hours, will be like 500 some odd families who've watched New Church Live by the end of the day. And that's incredibly healthy for a church. And we also want to serve that group, those people who join us online every Sunday. So we do have a small group coming up on Wednesday. It's called Reimagining Joy. If that interests you, feel free to sign up. If that isn't something that interests you, just go on our events page, and there'll be some other things coming up that we're working on. We're always working on new ways to serve and create community as best we can in this very new kind of world, that's for sure. So back to the story, friends. So it was interesting, like looking at the text messages backstage, and there were a number of them that talked about, one of the hard parts of family is when fractures happen and you end up with estrangement. Most families, well, I shouldn't say most, I don't know whether it's most. I know a lot of families have that. There's estrangement in there somewhere. And that's a sad part to be, and it's a very realistic part to be, sometimes for good reason, most of the time not so good reason. And that's just tough. I just want to acknowledge that is tough. That is tough. And then as well, getting some text messages, I'll read you a couple that I got here, that we're talking about sort of the positive side of it. One person said, unconditional love. I know they will always be there for me through darkness and in light. Another person, what do I get from family? Today, I get to gather to celebrate a life well lived. Having a family that can celebrate kindness. Kindness means the world to me, means heaven to me too. And families, again, they can really be both. And can we consistently put ourselves on the side where we're making decisions for the family of humanity? It's no small thing, right? That Jesus, it's important, and we say it a lot in here, Jesus never actually says, never uses the actual words, I am the Son of God. The phrase he uses all the time is, I am the Son of humanity. That's a way to live. That's not just some statement of Jesus talking about his divinity. It is Jesus talking about divinity at this level, but it's talking at it at this level in this way that is like very grounded. Like this is the way life should be. This Son of humanity that's very much here. So it's not divinity kind of detached up there in the heavens. It's divinity woven in to our very fabric of being, our very fabric of relationship, and how that works. It's interesting, friends, again, taking a book, coming back to the story, there's a question in this that is a very serious question. You could look at it as a chilling question. I tend to think of it as more like as a really serious question because it's something we need to ask over and over again. And it's the question that Cain asks when God kind of comes to ask him what's going on here. Like he talks about his brothers, those of you who know the story, talks about his brother's blood crying out to him from the ground. This is God speaking. And God asks him sort of, what's up with this? What happened? And of course, God knew what happened. But Cain's response was this question, am I my brother's keeper? Oh, oof. Yeah, exactly. Like, am I my brother's keeper? Like, what is it? Am I responsible for him? That's a ridiculous question. Remember years ago, I don't know, probably 20 plus years ago now, my oldest son was really little, and we're getting him involved with a group get involved with a local group, sort of a Boy Scout kind of group, and went over there for the first meeting, and they had t-shirts, and the t-shirt said, I am my brother's keeper. I thought, we're signing up. That's what we need to sign up for. That idea that, yes, indeed, we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. We belong to each other. And so much of that comes down to how we're going to kind of guide our intention. I mean, that's where it really starts, like guiding our intention. Here's a piece of New Church theology from the book Secrets of Heaven. It is our genuine intentions and desires that bring us joy and connect us with others. Now, notice that joy, friends. We come out with that intention. I'm going to hop over here real quick. We come out, we start our day, we open our door to the day, and we open it with an intention. and that intention is a good intention, an intention to serve, an intention to connect, of course there's going to be joy there. And we may not even notice this little convenient pile anymore. But can we really start with that deep, incredibly powerful intention? Because, listen to this, folks, true identity is defined by what we choose to will rather than by our thoughts or words alone. So we enter the world, we open the door to the world, we're coming at it with a best intention, with a sense of joy. That's your true identity. That is actually who you are. That very best intention. And it's a little bit of an aside, but anything that distracts from that, like maybe there's just a place to go like, yeah, God, God, just please, just you take care of these voices in my head that are pulling me away. Because those voices aren't coming from a good place. Strictly speaking, they're coming from hell. They're like these little thoughts, little temptations, etc., to get us off track, to get us to pick up the stone, to get us to indulge in a grudge. And just imagine, and I say this with a smile, like that thought comes in and you're like, well, I'm going to stay here with my best intention. That thought, like sort of personifying the thought, you can go talk to my boss. You can go talk to God. See what he has to say about that grudge. You can take it to him. Because that keeps us anchored in its best intention. And it's an intention, friends, when we come at it from our best intention, it's coming out there into joy in the world. It's not, that never seeks to wound other people. Years and years of working with people, and a pastor, no one's ever said to me like, yeah, my best intention, boy, I want to knock the crap out of somebody today. It just isn't it. That's never our best intention. And then it goes on. Our will shapes our nature. In other words, our love shapes our nature and character, as it is our intentions that create real impact. So those intentions, friends, lived out there into the world. When we live those little intentions out there into the world, it really does make a difference. It may not feel like it. And this is where I'd ask you to consider this. Grudges sometimes can feel a lot more real. Like, I can pick up my grudge. I can tell you very easily how I formed it over the years. I can tell you how I gently smoothed it down so that it felt good in my hand. I can tell you how much I actually enjoy picking it up. I can tell you the exact circumstances under which I am most likely to pick it up. It feels very real. And love, on the other hand, is kind of like, but what if we switch that? And every morning, instead of picking up a grudge, smoothing it, refining it, we kept on petting it. Imagine we did that around our best intentions. That every morning we woke up, and instead of sin lying at the door, it was our best intentions. You know what yours are. Imagine every morning you got up and you picked that up. And you thought, how am I going to live this today? How am I going to hold this and make it even smoother? And not smoother in a way that's to kill, but smoother, friends, listen, but smoother in a way to build a better world. Talk about joy. Talk about joy. Talk about making something real. Now, it doesn't mean that the rest of the world is going to change or social media is going to disappear or any of that. But it means you will have done your bit. Because your bit comes down to that love and that best intention lived out in joy to the world. Because, friends, ready for this? That's Abel. That's offering first fruits. That's offering the fat of the land. That's the sacrifice that God is asking. Sacrifice is what we are willing to make sacred. Make that sacred. Let's have a week living there, as imperfectly as humanity always does. So, with that, big breath. Thank you for joining us today. Again, big thank you for those who join us here in person. Big thank you to those who join us online throughout the weeks and the months and the years. It's wonderful that we get a chance, friends. It's wonderful. I mean, amazing that we get a chance once a week to gather and to try to remember first things first. Amen. Our shift now. What we're going to do is we're going to shift, and this is where we come in for a soft landing here at New Church Live. The soft landing is I'm going to offer a little prayer, then we're going to do the Lord's Prayer from the New Testament, and then we close with the Levitican blessing, thousands of years old, but it's a beautiful blessing. And then we'll have our final song. So please join me. Lord, thank you for your presence here today. Lord, help us to remember what it is that we offer to the world. We don't offer grudges, Lord, though that is so easy. Help us to remember what we offer is service and love and care and commitment and wisdom. All of that, Lord, offered in your name, our best intentions offered on your behalf. Allow that to be our offering this week, and allow us to remember, as was said, that we do indeed belong to each other. Amen. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. Friends, have a wonderful, joy-filled week. Amen.
When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. There's so much they hold, and just like them old stars, I see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How old is your soul? And I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. And when you're needing your space to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. 'Cause even the stars, they burn, some even fall to the earth. We've got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. I don't want to be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. Our differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got. Yeah, we got a lot at stake. And in the end, you see, my friend, at least we didn't intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world caving in. I had to learn what I got and who I'm not and what I am. And I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. I'm still looking up, and I won't give up. And God knows I'm tough enough. We've got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Love you too. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take good care.